everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be talking about rejection. Now, I know it's not an easy topic to talk about, and once again, I am not a counselor, I am not a doctor. These are just like my opinions on how I deal with rejection, and this is like how I've learned to cope with it, especially being in the performing world when you get rejected a lot. So if you want to know more about rejection or hear the ways that I cope with it, just hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up so I know you like videos like this, and just keep watching. So rejection comes at us in a lot of different ways. It can come at us at work, it can come at us from someone we're seeing, it can come from friends, family, lots of different places in our life. And the hardest part and the most important part to remember is that from rejection comes growth. Now, I know that when you're in the midst of rejection, being a performer, we're rejected constantly. And I don't mean that as in like a poor me, like we're rejected, but it's just something that happens with the job. You go to an audition. I've been to auditions where literally like I'll show up and they're like, sorry, like we're not taking any blondes or redheads this casting. And like, I'm like, okay, like I've been rejected, but at least like I know why. And sometimes, if you're dating someone or you're having like an intimate relationship and they stop talking to you or something happens and you get rejected and you're kind of like, well, what did I do? And you start to like blame yourself. That rejection can also extremely hurt. And sometimes for a lot of people, I know for me, like I like to know the reason why, which is why I think I deal with industry rejection better than I deal with like dating or relationship type of rejection, because at least like in an industry, there's usually like a reason, like your resume wasn't what we were looking for. We were looking for someone with like 7 years of experience and I only had 3 years of experience. Like usually if you like follow up with a company, you can like get your reasoning why they didn't want to hire you or like what the reasoning was, and you're like, oh, okay, like that stinks, but like, at least I know the answer now. Where rejection on like a personal level, I feel like is a lot harder to deal with, and sometimes that closure you have to create yourself, or sometimes that closure doesn't show up until years later. Like I've recently been dealing with a moment that I thought like, okay, like this person didn't like me and they rejected me in a very hurtful way, and I kind of just like let them go do their own thing in their life, and like all of a sudden now like we're having more time, and all of a sudden they're like messaging me, and I like flat out today was just like, hey, like I'm confused on why you're talking to me because you like weren't very nice to me. And like back then when I got rejected, I felt so sad and so upset, but now like I've grown, I'm in a like happy and healthy relationship, like I've moved past all of this, and you just have to be able to push through it and see the bright side. So sometimes it's really hard to, like when you have that like one dream and you get rejected over and over again. Like my biggest dream was dancing at Disney. It's been my dream since I was 5, and I did the college program in 2014 to 2016, and my very first audition I did at Walt Disney World was the Beauty and the Beast equity show, and I made it all the way to the end, and I was like, yes, like this is my moment. I get to like dance at Disney. It's my dream. And I spent the next 2 years living in Florida, and I auditioned. I went to every audition, face, dance, anything that I could get a hold of, and I got cut, or I got kept to the end and never called, and I got really discouraged, which is when I was like, okay, like I'm gonna move to New York and try that alley, and then I moved to Texas because I wanted to try that out. And when I was in Texas, I just like had this point, and I was like, you know what, like I still want to dance at Disney. This is still my dream. And I, on a whim, bought a plane ticket, and I went to Orlando, Florida, and I went to the audition, and I walked out of the audition, and I said, I booked it, and I could feel it, and I did, and I've been dancing with Disney now for 2 years. But like the person that I was when I auditioned in 2014 and 15 is not the person I was at that audition in 2018. I had just been in a terrible breakup. I felt rejected from the world. I was in a terrible headspace. I wasn't myself. I like could feel the difference when I went to that 2018 audition of how much I had grown and how much like it was just time for me to have that. So sometimes, even though, jobs may reject you or people may reject you, it just means that it's just not your time. It's just not what is meant for you at this moment. And that's okay. Like it is okay. okay to be rejected, and it is okay to feel sad about it, because it sucks. Like, I'm not gonna say like, oh, like, you know, rejection happens often, like it's gonna get easier. It doesn't get easier. It still sucks, like, all the time, and I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it, because it does. But if you can just keep in the back of your head of like, okay, like, this was rejected, how do I need to take care of myself, and how can we move forward? Like I said, for jobs, you know, maybe like following up with the company and seeing, you know, what was the reasoning for being rejected from the role. But like in personal relationships, you know, sometimes you can ask those questions and you'll never receive them, either because the person doesn't know, or the breakup was just really nasty and you just like can't talk about it, or like maybe, you know, you have a friendship that just ended and you feel rejected and you can't talk to that person about what happened. And you know, it's hard when you can't get that closure, but just know that on the other side of that rejection is growth. So just, if you can just tell yourself like, okay, like, this is how I was in this relationship, this is how that person acted. This person acted that way, and I don't want that in my future. So what do I need to do to be more the person that I want to be? And create yourself, and work on yourself, and take the time for yourself. And then, you know, in maybe like a couple months, a year, you know, whatever that time is that you need, come back around to it. You know, you don't have to give up on it and like pity party, the world is ending. Like, you know, it's okay to be dramatic in the moment. It's totally fine to wallow in it for a few minutes. But after that, you know, you need to take a step back and be like, okay, it's not where I'm supposed to be. It's not who I'm supposed to be with. It's not the job I'm supposed to have. And that's okay. What else can I do that makes me happy? What other options are there? Because there's always a way to be happy, and there's always a way to find your path. And it's okay, once again, like, if you are rejected, please, you know, feel those feelings. Don't try to push them down or be like, I'm rejected, you know, Kaitlyn said growth, like, I'm just gonna push it down and like let it happen. No, like, you can be upset, you can be disappointed, it's totally fine. But I'm just saying that through all the rejection I have ever been through, relationships, jobs, family members, friends, people that have lied to me, like, just like, the list could go on of rejections I have. Now that I have worked on myself and I have really taken the time to like think about what's important to me and work on me, everything else has just come into a line. And I'm not gonna say like you can just be like, screw that person, blah, because like those people may come back in your life, and it is your choice. It is your choice, I'm gonna repeat that, to open that door and let them back in or not. But I want you to reflect on why you're letting them back in. Because sometimes, you know, when we are rejected, once again, from like relationship type things, like friendship or romantic, we let them back in because we missed them, or we missed the life we had with them. But the truth is, were they actually healthy for you in the first place? Were you actually genuinely happy? And these are the questions you have to ask yourself. And everyone's different. I know I do a lot of like journaling and to-do lists, and that helps me like reach my goals and stuff, especially after I get rejected. Like I cry a lot of times, you know, like especially if I really want it, you know. For auditions, my go-to is always, I think about what food I'm getting afterwards. If anyone's ever been to an audition for me, I'm always talking about like what food I'm getting afterwards, because then if I like get cut or whatever, I handle the rejection a lot better, because I'm like, that's okay, because I'm gonna celebrate like getting this food I really love and making it a happy moment instead of like wallowing in it. Which, like, don't get me wrong, there's been a couple auditions that I've like really wanted, and I've like walked out of that room, gone to my car, and just started like sobbing, and you know, we had to just go on to plan B. And there's always another plan. There's always something happening for you. You know, when you are rejected, just let it happen, accept it, go ahead and ask the questions you want to ask, you know, deal with it in a healthy way, go ahead and cry, have all those moments, but then take the next step. Like I said, you know, rejection is one of the biggest things of growth. And if you meet people that are like, you know, especially people I've met that are very positive or like in a really good place emotionally, like whenever I talk to them, they're like, yeah, I've been rejected a lot. Like they've been through really shitty relationships or really crappy family moments, or, you know, they've been rejected from like 20 jobs or been homeless. I mean, you always hear of celebrities that are like, they started out with $5 in their pocket at 23, and by 30, you know, they're multimillionaires. And it's because they've been through a lot of rejection and they chose to push through. So that is my biggest advice to you, is when you are rejected, no matter what scale it is, you know, handle it how you need to handle it. Make sure that it's in a healthy way, and then go ahead and just start moving to the next day, you know, one step in front of the other, you know, one day at a time. Just keep pushing through and it will all be okay. I promise. Like, it's hard in the moment, and I know that right now there's a lot of rejection happening and that we're going through a difficult time, but if we can all just kind of stick together, you know, talk it out, work it out, it will all be okay. And I think that this is all, you know, a wonderful moment of growth. And I've had a couple of rejections in the past, like, you know, couple months and being on furlough and all that kind of stuff, but I just realized, like, this is an opportunity for me to grow. I have more time to do things. I have more time to work on me and to, like, inspire people, and that's what I'm doing with my rejection. So as long as you can find, you know, the silver lining and push forward, it will all be okay. So just remember also, it's nice to be nice. Everyone's fighting their own battles. And I hope you guys have a wonderful Monday, and I'll see you next week. Bye, guys.